Well, I think we're ready to get the ball rolling. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Got a great subject matter today, and yes, Terry is very excited about this subject. We call her the Queen of Follow-Up. Isn't that right, Terry?
Well, this is my passion, you guys. I've got to tell you, I've been working with follow-up for the past 5.5 years, and I've just started kicking back in, doing more follow-up to see. I like to get a pulse on what's happening with our group and what's happening out in the whole field there of Zango. And so we're going to talk about it today, and so I'm hoping everybody will learn.
Yeah, and before we get rolling into follow-up, I've got some pictures that I really have to show you here. You guys have been a part of our webinar, and a lot of you have seen the picture of the old truck. And for those that are new, 10 years ago, basically, this was our primary method of transportation. And I just figured it out last night. We actually drove this truck for about 10 years. So from I'd say about 88, 89 to 99. We paid $600 for it. We put 100,000 miles on it. And it has been sitting up since 1999 on the upper part of our property. And as you can see here, we've got some stakes in the ground, and we're planting a new vegetable, garden, fruit, greenhouse kind of thing up on the upper property this year. And that's my little project. Terry's not allowed to come up there yet. But, it was time for the truck to go. And it was really hard to let the truck go. So I got a picture taken of me, and I took this picture because when I drove this truck, that's pretty much what I look like. And in fact, that's the exact kind of jacket that I wore. In fact, that's the same one that I wore. I still have it. And I'd wear some old pair of jogging pants, a hat, and we'd drive that truck around. We did all kinds of things out of the back of that truck. You can see that some of the kids from the neighbors got in here and smashed the window. But that was an incredible truck. As the story goes, you've heard me talk about it. It would never break down on the freeway. It would only break down in front of the house. And it would never break down when we had no money. So we've come a long way since that truck. But here it goes. This is the picture of it getting hauled away. And these two masters here that are deal with old cars and trucks are the same one that hauled away our Nissan Maxima when we got into Zango and the engine went out. And the guy told me that he was able to drive it for a year after we got rid of it. So that's kind of the last of the relic from the past. So I was happy to get some pictures of the old truck leaving. And it's amazing, Terry, how far we have come since that truck. I mean, it's almost hard to believe, isn't it?
We just feel so very blessed to have had both experiences, really. They were both very enriching. The truck experience and then the Zango experiences, which are both opposite. And so it was almost very hard to let go of Betsy, the truck. And but Art has a new dream. And you see, the dream is for him to we have a vegetable garden down below, but we wanted fruit trees and we wanted a bigger garden. And so he has cleared away the brush so that he can have his new dreams. And I've told him I'm not maintaining that garden up there. I have enough to do down here with the waterfall and everything. So that's why he says I'm not allowed to go up there.
Okay, so that's the old story about the truck. I was glad to get some pictures before she took off. And yes, the fortune is in the follow-up. And what are we talking about here? There's many different ways to follow up. And I was just recalling something that Bob Schmidt said about follow-up and retention, is that he said that it's interesting that most people will spend 97 to 98% of their time and resources recruiting and very little time and the resources on retention and follow-up and helping people get results. And in this day and age, in this economy, you've got to follow up. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you here as we get into this. We're going to talk about the fact that this is probably your greatest weakness, those of you on the call here listening to this. This is your greatest weakness, and we want to turn your greatest weakness into a strength. And so I highly recommend that you take notes and you make a dedication to reinvigorate yourself with regard to follow-up here. So first of all, this is the beginning of follow-up. And I've actually got an old slide from one of our early webinars about Terry and her dream. And she wanted a car, and she wanted a trip to Thailand. This is her old computer when we first started in the business. And then the action required for that dream were these sheets here printing out from mymangosteen.com new members, Terry. And that's where the whole follow-up thing began, with you wanting to change your life and looking for something that you could do to make a contribution.
It really did, Art. You know, as I did that and as I did my phone calls, I realized that I was helping people. But you have to understand that follow-up is truly the glue that holds your business all together. It really is. You know, it's all about service, you guys. And you're wanting to help these people and care about them so that they can get the best results. You know, you want them to stay on their product. But, you know, what I'm finding as the last 3 months, okay, and I hadn't told many of our downline, but the last 3 months, I really, after Christmas and January 1st, I really wanted to get a pulse on our team. I wanted to get a pulse on what was happening out there with the leaders. I know which leaders are doing follow-up, and I know which leaders aren't, you know, and I think it's really crucial. You know, not everyone is putting the amount of time that they need to put into follow-up. It's just so important. You know, I've actually gone in and done the exact same thing. I print out everybody that signs up, and I print it off, and I have a paper that I hold. I'm a paper person. You're going to talk to Krista later. She's taking it up another notch. She's a computer whiz gal, you know, but I like hard paper. I like to be able to write the person's stuff on how many ounces they're taking, what they're doing, and what results they're getting or whatever. And I print these off almost every morning or every second or third morning because I'm waiting now 5 days because I'm hoping that our leaders are going to phone them before I phone them. I want to know who's out there doing follow-up because what I've found in the last 3 months that I've been doing this, and the other reason I wanted to pick up and do this is because of our great new Glimpse product, okay? I wanted to make sure people were getting results. And what I've found is people are falling through the cracks, you guys. This is like so important. I mean, you guys are wondering why people are stopping taking the juice or not taking their Glimpse. It's because they're not getting the great results that they need. So I've been actually doing some three-way calls. I've been doing some pod calls of people that have been having problems. You know, these are some of these people are on the juice and some of these people are on Glimpse, but they're not getting the results. But why is it taking so many months? Or they've been on the product for 2 months. These problems should be nipped right away so that these people are getting the results. Okay, it's so important. And so, you know, like, let's do an example. I just want to do one example. For instance, I'm doing a follow-up call on a person, and she has arthritis, okay? She's taking 1 or 2 ounces a day. You guys, that is not enough juice for arthritic people. Those people have a lot of pain, okay? Remember, a healthy person takes 2 to 3 ounces a day. That is 1 with each meal. A person that has all kinds of health challenges, it's 4 to 6 ounces. I know people are trying to pull back with their money. I understand that. But if they don't get results, if that arthritic person does not get the results that they need with the juice, they're going to stop the juice. So would it not be to their best interest to go on for 5 ounces is what I like for an arthritic person, okay? 5 ounces. And if they're not sleeping at night, you bump 1 of those ounces just before bed. Now, if I take an ounce before bed, I'm wired for sound. I'm high energy. I might as well just stay up all night and clean the house. So you have to ask questions. And that's what I've been finding out there. They're not asking enough questions. So I just want to go, I'm going to say it fairly slowly so you can kind of write it down. But when I do a follow-up call, this is what I say. You have to understand, most of these people are at work. If they're not at work, they're home to pick up my phone call because they're sick, right? That's why they're home. But most of these people that I phone every morning that are new follow-up people, okay, I leave a message on the machine. So this is what I say. I say, "Hi, Sally, this is Terry. I'm from Zango. I just wanted to do a quick service call. I wanted to make sure you got your juice. Shake the bottle up every time you take your ounces, okay? Remember, a healthy person takes 2 to 3 ounces a day. That would be 1 with each meal. A person that has health challenges is going to need more juice, from 4 to 6 ounces a day. That is 2 with each meal. Don't forget to drink lots of good water. I see that Sandy has sponsored you. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to call her or call me, and I leave my number. It's that simple, you guys. I call it the 2-minute drill. I mean, you cannot imagine how important this is. Service is everything. If you go into a restaurant these days or you go into a store these days, you know, people are going to be asking you, you know, how can I help you? They will go out of their way. If you don't want mashed potatoes on that meal that you've ordered and they've got fresh asparagus, they're going to exchange and give you fresh asparagus. If you're going to go into Chico's and Coldwater Creek is right next door, and Coldwater Creek has a 25% discount, Chico's is going to honor that because they want your business. So you see, if you're not talking to your people and getting them results, service is what it's really all about at the end of the day. And so I think this is really important. You know, I trained a lot of leaders, but it was really important to see which leaders took this on. But what's happened is the brand new 1Ks, any of you people that are on the phone today that have not done follow-up, did not know about it because you're a brand new 1K, this is the most important thing. And so I'm training you today. So, Art, I think we'll move along and we'll get Krista on the phone with me because she plays another part.
Exactly. Great job on that, Terry. And you know, really it's about being of service and not bringing your own agenda. And what Terry is really talking about here is how to follow up on your downline members, which is a little bit different than following up on the people that you have personally sponsored. But when you're calling downline members, it's about being of service and not having an agenda. Don't be calling downline members trying to get them to order more juice or talk to them about the business. That's really not what your job is in this case. If it comes up naturally, you will absolutely address it. But it's not like you're trying to sell them something. You're there to be of service to help them along the way. So you've heard these expressions that I've got up here, coachable, treat it like a business. I mean, we've been harping and teaching on follow-up since the very beginning. We feel like Terry's original follow-up that she did that launched our business helped create us to 500K. Wouldn't you think, you know, that our downline would all naturally jump on and follow our lead? You know, when it got to the point where Terry just couldn't make all those calls anymore and we started teaching our downline, you'd think that they would just jump on it, right? But no, that's not the case. There's really only 2 primary people. There's more, but 2 people in our downline that really have taken it on. And the first person, of course, is Krista Gustafson, who, you know, really was very, very coachable and has actually taken a lot of what Terry has done with follow-up and systemized it and kind of taken it up a notch and put her own spin on it. Are you there, Krista?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. How are you today?
Doing great, thanks.
Yeah, so I got a great picture of us there. I just happened to pull up there in Las Vegas, and I got Krista. What I'm going to be showing is some of your document, Krista, that you created on this, and we're going to walk through a little bit of that. I just wanted people to meet Krista, who is a single mom with all these beautiful little girls here, and it looks like a couple of them even like each other down there. That's cool. They sometimes fight, though, don't they, Krista?
Well, they sometimes like each other, and they sometimes don't.
So you, what's your deal about follow-up, Krista? I mean, you picked up on this right away, and you've done an incredible job in your team. I mean, why do you like it? And then we'll get into some of the logistics of it.
Okay. Well, Terry taught me right from the start. She was very adamant about me doing follow-up. And I always figured, you know, when I started this business, if I was going to be a premier, then I was going to have to do just what Art and Terry did. It only made sense to listen to somebody who's already successful, and if I really want this, then just do it. Was I afraid? Sure I was, but I knew that I had to get past that fear, and, you know, I had a huge fear of being on the phone in my early days and making calls, but I did it, and I learned how to do it, and it's sort of like a learned skill, actually. And I ran with it. And what I found was it built my knowledge in this product. You know, the stories that I was hearing and what I was learning. I spent a lot of time on three-way calls with Terry, listening to her and what is she saying and what does she ask. And so really I learned a lot of it from listening to her and then just doing it myself. And I just learned to ask the right questions. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And the more my business grew. It just seemed like my business was exploding when I was doing follow-up, and I didn't really understand why at the time, but I learned that, you know, it's one thing to bring in people each and every month.
Right.
It's another thing to hold all those people in each and every month. So I became very passionate about it. A lot of it had to do with the stories, and because of my passion for health and natural health, I was just amazed by what this juice is capable of.
Yeah, you really get that picture. I can remember when Terry first started doing the follow-up, and we've told this story before, and I'd be busy over here in the computer, and she's getting off the phone saying, yeah, this person's already noticing this, and that person's already noticing that. And actually, she was getting a strong belief from the product, hearing the results that new members were already getting.
Exactly. It builds your belief in this product. And guys, if you need to build your belief and find a way to get it up to a 10, this is it. Because those stories, I couldn't believe it. I had never heard of fibromyalgia when I first started Zango. I didn't even know what it was. Now I know that it's something that's very common. A lot of people suffer with it. And now I know what kind of results people can get with this great product.
You know, I've got a slide up here that is from a document that we're going to be talking about that you put together to train your new members on follow-up, and I've edited a little bit, but basically, I mean, these are the reasons to follow up. You know, you've talked about building your belief, retention, of course, holding on to your customers. You know, I mean, being of service is a gift. You know, you're giving of yourself when you follow up. And why do people not follow up? I can tell you, once again, it's fear. And the fear is because you're thinking about yourself. Oh, my little me that might get hurt, or, oh, what are they going to think? But if you're coming from a place of service, I'm wanting to help this person. Terry has absolutely, I mean, she was a little anxious probably when she first got on, but now she can hardly wait to get on the phone to talk to these people because she doesn't have an agenda. She's not trying to sell them anything. She's just trying to help them and help them get results. I mean, Terry, you could jump in on that one here a little bit because helping them get results, I mean, that is the primary reason for follow-up. If you don't help them get results, I mean, nothing much is going to happen.
Oh, it really is. And, Krista, you know the drill. I mean, if people are not taking enough juice or they're on the 1 ounce, or I love this one because I know on the Canadian bottle it says tablespoon.
Yes.
But, you know, when I find that it's a Canadian person on my page, I make sure that they're not taking tablespoons. I make sure they're taking ounces. And, Krista, how about this one? They're pouring it in a glass, and they don't even know how much they're taking.
Very common. All these things are very common.
Exactly, and so it's so important to get them properly measuring it. I remember this one, Krista. It was the person that I was phoning for Ailey in England, and she was taking tablespoons, or else she was pouring it in her teacup. And do you know how many different sizes of teacups there are out there, you guys?
I remember that one. Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and you know, how was I going to train this gal but to put it in a shot glass? We all have to be on the same page. You know, we have to know how much the person is taking because otherwise, right, Krista, you're going to get the call saying, you know, this product just didn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to think it's not working, and it is always because they're not taking enough.
Exactly.
And it is the number one reason why people quit is because they're not getting the results they want.
I mean, it's just we just cannot stress this enough.
Well, how much should they be taking? I mean, let's go through that again. How much juice? Because I know that we've got people that you'll be doing follow-up calls on, Terry, like they're on a half an ounce or an ounce a day for like some serious condition. It's ridiculous.
This is amazing because, right, Krista, I'll phone them or you'll phone them and we'll say, are you a healthy person? And they'll say yes, but they're only taking 1 ounce. But as you talk to them on the phone, they say, well, I do have a little bit of arthritis and I do have a knee that I'm having a lot of problems with. And before you know it, they've got 2 or 3 things wrong with them. It's never just one thing.
That's right. And sometimes people at first, they don't want to admit that they have a health problem. And so what you might find is, they say, oh, I'm fine. Oh, yeah, I'm a healthy person.
Right.
Okay, but until you ask the right questions, you're not going to really find out. So why did you start taking Zango? I would just kind of ask them a few questions. How many ounces are you taking?
Exactly.
Oh, and they'll tell you, okay, but did you know? And I'll just say, this is what I've learned.
Yeah. So you have to get them talking.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is just really important. Then you find out they've got digestive problems, they're not sleeping at night. That's when you go in and you start tweaking the juice a little bit, saying, why don't we move this around? Why don't we change that? Are you really able to get those many ounces in? Remember, and this is the thing, right, Krista, 2 to 3 ounces for a healthy person. That's healthy. That's 1 with each meal. And then 4 to 6 ounces for people that have serious problems of all sorts. Because even an arthritic person, if they're on 5 ounces, right, Krista, and they're taking that ounce before bed because they do not sleep, remember, you have to ask that question, and they start relieving their pain, they'll be glad to stay on their 5 ounces.
Oh, yeah, and it's huge. It's just sometimes a matter of 1 ounce.
Exactly.
It really is. And if you follow up on a weekly basis with that new person, you'll find out if they do need the 1 ounce more. Great example this week, I did a follow-up with one of my distributors. And, the other thing I just want to say is that people remember you. When you serve them, they remember that. This guy has so much joint pain, and he started on a juice a week ago, and we wanted to see how he was doing. And he wants so badly for this to work. But I know that if we don't hold him accountable and follow up with him every week, that he has a potential of not taking enough. And I want to make sure he does take enough. And so when I told him we were going to work with him each week to see how he's doing, he was so excited about that. He's so thankful because, see, he knows somebody's there to help him.
Exactly. It's about caring about people. Yep. It's not about your checkbook. It's not about getting the next order, but it's about caring about them. The second order automatically comes. So important. Krista, Art's brought up a slide here because I know you've taken follow-up to a whole other level than I did. I'm a paper person, and I always phoned like on the 4th day. I'm now phoning around the 5th or 6th day that they actually receive their juice because I want to give our leaders time enough to phone the people and see if they've called. It's just so important for me as a leader to know which leaders are doing it and which leaders have not been able to do follow-up. So I know these are some of the questions that we ask. Are you shaking the bottle and what have you? You would be surprised how many people aren't shaking the bottle.
Right. Or they don't put it in the fridge.
That one too.
Yeah, and if you're using a My Mangosteen system, right, Krista, I mean, you can email your new members. Also, you can do it through myzango.com. Is that where you're sending the welcome email out to, is through?
I still, to this day, I send a welcome email to all new members, and it's usually, for me, about every 3 weeks. I'll pull up new members out of My Mangosteen, and, basically I tell them my story, a little bit of my story, and then I will actually say in the email, this is what we recommend. If you're a healthy person, and what I always say is I don't even say 2 ounces. I say 1 ounce 3 times a day. I want them to start at that, even if they are a healthy person. And I've said to people, you know what? I'm what I consider a healthy person, and 3 ounces isn't enough for me. You got to determine what's right for you and your body. But, yeah, I do send the email out through My Mangosteen to all the new members, and then basically you can pull a list up from my
I'm going to show that in a little bit later, Krista,
Okay.
right after this section on kind of briefly you can go through how to pull up a list through the Zango back office. But I've got another slide here from the inside out to the outside in. Let's talk about following up with Glimpse, because that's another game that, that's another issue really where, first of all, to start with, some people won't even have started on the product. There's another reason, whether it's Glimpse or the juice, right? So the first thing is to make sure people are using it.
This one here, okay, Krista, you and I have talked, and a lot of our leaders, I've talked to them. This one is really crucial. I mean, you think that people all use skincare and all know how to use it, right, Krista? Well,
Yep.
did we find out that was wrong or what? I mean,
did.
Krista, one of your gals, what was the deal on the toner?
Well, we had a lady recently. She was so excited because she knew about toxins, and so when she heard about Glimpse, she was so excited, and I had done a three-way with one of my distributors, and we got her started on her product. Now, what happened was when we were to follow up, the follow-up kept getting postponed. She's
Right.
a very busy lady, and we had a hard time keeping the appointment with her. And so the follow-up was just not quick enough. It wasn't quick enough. And what we found out by the time we followed up, and this was going now 3 weeks, okay? And what we found out is that she was already out of toner.
I know.
She was out of toner, and not only that, she had bought some other toner from another company.
To now go with her Glimpse package.
Yes, and so I just about had a fit. I thought, what? How could she be out of toner? I use a lot of toner, okay? I love that toner. I put it in my hair and everything. But seriously, it lasts me longer than 3 weeks, guys. So I said, that's it. We've got to call her right away. And I did. I called her and I said, listen, I understand you're out of toner already. Because she had already wanted she talked about ordering more, but she said, I got this bottle in the meantime. And I said, so listen, how are you actually applying the toner? And she says, well, I'm pouring it into a cotton ball. Oh, my goodness.
Red flag.
Bingo. I thought, okay, that's where all the toner's going, is going into the cotton ball, and it's not going onto her face. You see, the cotton's absorbing all that toner. Can you imagine pouring the toner? You just don't do that. Please don't
the
do
point
that.
the point is here, Krista, that without some follow-up, that lady's never going to reorder because she can't afford to go through toner every couple of weeks, right?
Exactly. And so what actually ended up happening in the end is she ordered a whole nother kit. I got her to order another kit.
And that was brilliant. You caught it just in the nick of time. But, some of the other things that I've been doing a lot of three-way calls with people of troubleshooting. And the troubleshooting, I can always figure it out, but you have to ask them enough questions. And some of the gals were having like a little pimply rash down by their chin or at the side of their face or on the top of their hairline. And it's because they're not using a face cloth. Remember, you guys, Glimpse is an alive product, okay? And it's going to the cellular level. And also, men shave. And so they're able to get their cells off, their first layer of skin off, of course, with their shaving. Women need to use a face cloth so you make sure that you get all of the residue off of your, cleansers. Is very important. And Krista, another thing that we found out when I would do some tweaking in there of three-way calls is for some reason people were using water with the creamy cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use water with creamy cleanser because that's a person that has really dry skin. And so you want all of that moisture to go back into your cells. So that was another problem we were having. And so it's really important to be doing some of these things. Also, I did a follow-up on a lady, and because she phoned me, and she'd been on the product 4 months, and she said, I'm just not getting the results that I'm supposed to be getting. And I said, well, really, what seems to be the problem? And so she told me she wasn't getting her results. I said, well, you've been on it 4 months. You should be out of or 4 months. You should be way out of your product. She says, oh, no, I have about a half a bottle left of everything. I said, what? I said, well, then you're not applying enough. And this is the other problem. People are not putting enough of the product on. So how are they supposed to get the results? And, Krista, the last thing that I, of course, want to talk about is the liquid foundations or the toxic foundations that people are putting it on. If you're ever wanting to get pimples again and a rash, it's like a canvas, you guys. Your face is like a canvas, and you've put this wonderful toxin-free product on your canvas, and now you're going to put a liquid foundation or a toxic powder foundation on your face to go back into those cells. We've just opened your cells up. So that's why you're actually clogging your pores. Go to Bare Essentials. They're the ones, the cleanest cover-up, makeup, whatever we want to call this. Bare Essentials is the one that will be able to help you until Zango actually has their own powder foundation. And use that. There are many companies out there, but Bare Essentials is the only one that has not got the toxins in them. So I think, you really need to look at some of your things. And this is where follow-up is king as well, Krista.
Yeah, and those are some of the great questions to ask people who have just started on their glimpse to make sure, they're using the washcloth to take the cleanser off. Make sure they're getting all that off.
Yes.
Make sure they're not putting foundation right back into the skin.
Yeah,
Exactly.
one of the things I just want to add here, just kind of a tip, an overall tip for you people, for anybody, whether it's the juice or glimpse, okay? If you ever have somebody that seems to be getting an undesirable response, where it could be a toxins being moved out of their body, some sort of what you might call a reaction, which is quite often the body healing itself, the rule of thumb is to simply slow down and take half as much, or even stop for a couple days and start over at a lower amount. And so that happens with the juice. It can happen with glints or anything. And just a little tip there, just slow the process down, stop it, or start in slower. Some people are very, very sensitive to new things. Also, I love the Glimpse, the gel cleanser for shaving. And guys, if you're not using it for shaving, you're missing the boat. And put it on for shaving. I use it in the shower. I mean, I use it for everything. It's an incredible product. You'll never use soap again after using the gel cleanser. Krista, very briefly here, and we don't have time to go into this, but I've just shown a slide. I'm just going to give you an idea that there is a way to go into your MyZango back office under reports and use the filters and columns here to bring up your list of new members. Is that right? Is that what you do, Krista? So that you can know who's come in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly. Like I can print out tons of information just on, 1 or 2 pages. I could have, 30 or 40 new members. So I just filter out what I need to know, and I need to know when they started, who their sponsor is, and what their phone number is, and where they live. And then basically I would just call them all up on the 4th day. Hi, how are you doing? This is Krista with Zango.
Right. And just before we get on to our next guest here, this is an email that you got from one of your follow-up emails, March 25th. So this is just this last week. Wow, an email with a message to be of help. Thank you. I mean, isn't that incredible? Just reaching out to somebody who really wants to build a business and just is happy that somebody's there to help them.
Exactly. And so I just want to finish with this, you guys, is reach down. Don't be afraid to reach down. You are the leader, and this is your business, and you have every right to be contacting these people, okay? So don't be afraid to do that.
And this document that you've created for training, follow-up of your new members for leaders, we're going to be posting that in the back office of becomingapremiere.com. We're just having a few website hiccups. I don't know if you've noticed that, but you should be able to find it under the download section. And if it, give it a couple days to be in there, but you've got an actual document here to train your leaders on for them to follow up, right?
Yeah, it's just the basics. It tells them exactly how to pull up their downline report. It says what do you say when you call them? what do you ask? So it just gives you the basics, which is really what most people are missing. They're just not sure, how do I do it? And so this is really helpful.
Well, thanks a lot, Krista, for coming on here and helping out. You've really done an incredible job with your team, and I know you have great relationships along many, many levels with different leaders that you've discovered, so I really honor you for the work that you've done there.
Thanks, Krista.
Thanks, guys.
And so now we're going to bring on another great leader, Eva Marie Sarda, 100K. From Kashmir, Washington. You can see her there with Yvonne. We didn't let Yvonne come on the call today. We're seeing if Eva can do a call by herself. Are you there, Eva?
Yes, I'm not sure if I can.
Well, I know you can, but you guys are such a fixture. You're kind of like us. You always go places together. And so I know that Yvonne is there, and he's been a wonderful support, does a lot of his own follow-up as well. But one of the things that, first of all, what do you like about follow-up? And then let's get into your little niche that you and Yvonne have been working on the last while.
Well, yes, thanks to Terry, who talked about follow-up, is owning your organization. And I tell you, I'm amazed at how many people, I know that Krista touched upon it just in the last call here, that people are afraid to call people in their downline because they feel they don't own them. They're not part of their team, or they're part of their team, but they don't feel they should be interfering. In other words, there's some whoever sponsored them, that's their people, kind of a thing. So we can't really call those people. And there's a lot of people who think that. And it's just really strange, but that's how they think. So you have to kind of work through with these people and say, no, have ownership of your whole team, because what if that person who sponsored them is not following up with them and doing them a disservice, because they may not be following up with them, in fact, making sure that they're getting on the product correctly and shaking the bottle and doing the right thing. And so, therefore, we all take on the responsibility of taking on that lead. And I do feel, like Krista and like Terry, everyone who I talk to, and I've talked to hundreds of people in the last 5 years, I have never, I think maybe one negative response, but I've never had a negative response. Everyone has been very, very grateful. And I basically, start off just the same way as Terry and Krista do. It's just a courtesy call. It's just checking on you to see how you're doing on the juice. And they're all very, very grateful. And I think that we have to take the responsibility of making sure they're on the juice correctly. And also, the other thing is that if you don't follow up, and let's say they're not feeling any results, and they feel, this stuff is not working. Well, that's another important thing, is we know it is working. That's the reason Yvonne and I got on the product, was for prevention. And that's a huge thing, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they get off it too soon. That inflammation, of course, is the root cause of heart disease and cancer, and you can't feel inflammation in your arteries. So it's proven, even through Dr. Johnson, to do the C-reactive protein test on people, that actually it does lower I'm not going to go into details on that one, but it actually lowers inflammation in the arteries. So there again.
So you're really looking to sort of educate people when the opportunity arises, is what you're saying, and reinforce the reason they should be taking it, right?
Absolutely. If people, I always ask them, what kind of results are they actually looking for, and so if they're, they may be saying they're just in the business or they're just drinking the juice, and then we do talk about prevention. But if they have health challenges, again, a lot of people aren't taking enough of it, and nobody's following up with them. That's just a common thing.
Eva, let's jump into, with the time we're running a little bit short here, another kind of follow-up that you guys are really good at, that do, I think, more than probably anyone else in our downline, is really following up and looking for people now that they've been in for a while. You could call them older members, or looking for strength in your downline below weakness, calling into various parts of your downline on a regular basis. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So I'm not going to give you an example here. This is something that Yvonne did the other day, by the way. He just called, what he did, he printed off anyone who has been on Zango for 3 months and suddenly got off it. And, he just called them up randomly and, just to check with them, seeing why they're off the juice. And interesting enough, he got a woman who he started talking with, and she was saying that he started talking about the glimpse, and she had never even heard about the glimpse. And Yvonne, of course, my husband says, "Oh yes, Eva looks 20 years younger, 20 years younger with this glimpse." She says, "Wow," she said, "I have a high school reunion coming up. I need, how do I get it?" She did not even know how to get it.
You know what, Eva, what this is telling me is people are wondering why this lady stopped taking the juice. If she doesn't know about glimpse, I can tell you no one's calling her, and no one's following up, right? Yeah.
Nobody was following up. Her sponsor was not and she said, "Should I call her sponsor?" We basically told her to call the 800 number to buy the glimpse, and then and then we will be in touch with her. But that sponsor was not following up with her. Never called her. Just didn't work with her at all. Didn't tell her about the glimpse. There's a lot of people out there not telling about the glimpse. But the other thing that we're doing too is going into the My Mangosteen Activity Center in that's been upgraded as well, and we're looking at people who are getting people to the slideshow or the testimonial video, and then we are contacting them. And this is a beautiful site that we have right now. It's all been upgraded in the back office of My Mangosteen.
Right.
And so if you click on your Mangosteen activity, you will find all these people who are working the business. And I tell you, it just blew me away because some of these people I have not talked in a long time. I thought, wow, they're on there. They're getting people onto Dream Big Video. They're doing a slideshow. Some people made a 6-month commitment. I have a guy in Singapore, that nobody had connected with. And they were just sort of on.
Yeah, so you're seeing a leader that's emerging there by watching the activity there and giving them a call, and here they're kind of doing it on their own.
Absolutely. And you know what? That site, I don't know if people realize that, but where you can click on their bio, you can get all their information, and then you can actually find out who sponsored them right there. And you can contact them, not only them, but contact the sponsor and say to them, look, I just spoke with this gal or this guy, really interested in building business. He was on the My Mangosteen activity site. Give him some support. So this is a great communication site. I just found it just awesome. So,
Eva, just as an idea here, I mean, how many calls, which would you call like downline follow-up calls, calling into your downline randomly, do you guys make in an average week or month?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the day. Some days we're on the phone a lot with a few people because we're doing a lot of training.
Right.
And I would say, let me see now. I would say on the average of 10 a day.
Wow, 10 calls a day into the downline, yeah.
Yeah, 10 calls a day. And I've gone higher. I've never gone what Terry's done because I kept saying, how does she do it? 30 calls. But I have done up to 25 calls in a day.
And some of that would be just leaving messages, right? I mean, that's part of, a lot of that would be probably, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Whenever I leave a message, I don't leave a message. I don't really expect them to call me back, but I make sure that there's enough meat in that message that they really understand. I always say make sure you shake the bottle, and if you have any health challenges, make sure you take it at least 3 times a day with a little bit of food. And then I said, it works great topically for burns as well. And it's amazing how many people do not realize that. And I say, really? Or I might just say what kind of results we are getting with it. So I make sure that my message is quite detailed, actually.
Hey, Eva, I've just popped up a poll here. How many of you follow up on your own personals? So that would be within at least the first week or so. And how many people of you are calling somewhere in your downline and doing follow-up in the downline? We just launched that poll here, and we'll let that poll run while you're continuing here. And actually, I'm pretty impressed. The percentages coming in are higher than I thought. But anything else you wanted to add, Eva, on following up with older members, or any other tips that you've got?
Well, I think that, just like Terry and Krista talked about, is the fact that I think a lot of people are sort of afraid to call people, but that this is part of the organization. But I think because of the newness of being in network marketing, people aren't understanding that this is really part of their job of creating a large organization. Is the follow-up. It's so important, and it is being of service to people. And yes, I do call. I have not a clue sometimes where they are in my organization, You know, when I'm talking to someone, I said it makes no difference.
It doesn't matter where they are, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we work, and we have worked on organization. We working with organization that we haven't sponsored. Our sponsor hasn't sponsored them. It goes way down, but we treat them just the same. And we do follow-up call. We're on the phone a lot with them because they are working the business. So we want to give them all the support. That's really important.
Well, thanks a lot, Eva, for coming on here. We're just about ready to close the poll. If you have not yet voted yet, the question is, how many of you have follow up on your new members on your own personals, let's say within at least the first week or 10 days? And how many of you are following up then or calling downline into your downline members? And we're going to close that here in about 15 seconds. Thanks a lot, Eva, for coming on, and thanks to Yvonne. You guys are great leaders, really care about people, always comes through when you're doing follow-up is your caring heart and caring intent. Appreciate
Thanks,
you guys.
Eva.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you
job.
for you guys' leadership. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
So let's see if I can get the share results thing work from our poll. There you go. There's the results that you can see there. And, I mean, guys, come on. I mean, 68% sounds high. But what's with the other 32% that don't even call their own people that sign up? You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, this is the foundation. You are a responsible sponsor. If you're not following up with them, you're not in the game, I'm telling you. So for whoever that 32% is, shame on you. You know, you've got to do this, and you've got to help them. It's a hobby if you're not following up. And I'm pretty impressed that quite a few people are calling into the downline. 32%, I think, is better than I would have thought. But let's double that up, you know. And I'm saying, okay, 5Ks and up, you know. I mean, maybe, you know, at the 1K level, you don't have enough experience and so on to be following up on the downline. But at least at the 5K level, so that's not a bad number.
But, you know, Art, I would just like to say at this point, for those of you that are new in the business or your 1Ks and you don't have enough experience, boy, get on pod calls, get on three-way calls, get your sponsor to help you with that, to show you the ropes, to show you the way. You know, there is really, this is just so important. I mean, you know, if you really, truly want this as a business, and especially there's a lot of part-time people out there that are wanting to do this as a business because they don't know if their job is going to be there tomorrow. And so it's really important that you step it up. We really have to take it up another notch. And that's why I stepped in and started phoning all these people, because I do want to know, and I do want these people to get great results. And so this is why we do follow-up. And I know you're afraid to pick up the phone, but you know what? You're not there to phone and chit-chat, you guys. This is not a 20-minute call. Okay, for those of you that chit-chat and are long-winded, this is not what this is. This is a 2-minute drill, a 2-minute call. You're phoning your next-door neighbor, Sally, to say, hey, Sally, I just want to make sure you got your juice. You're shaking the bottles up every time you're taking your ounces. And how many ounces are you taking? For healthy people, it's 2 to 3 ounces a day, one with each meal. For people with health challenges, it's 4 to 6 ounces. That would be 2 with each meal. Drink lots of good water, and bye-bye. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, you may get into conversations with people, but, you know, it's basically a fairly quick call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they have a health challenge, then that's different. And I do take people under my wing that have health challenges. I want to at least phone them every week. If they have a health challenge, I phone them every week, okay, to make sure they're getting the results. And then after the 4th week, they're kind of doing their own deal. They're ready for their second order anyways.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into, thanks a lot for that, Terry. Another point on follow-up. What about business builders? And following up on your business builders, and particularly the people that you have sponsored. And the number one thing that has really changed our business here is since we introduced the 90-second call. And the 90-second call is just amazing. There's really nobody that can't do it because it's only 90 seconds. And sure, it sometimes goes into 5 minutes. But here's the principles, and here's what will work for the 90-second call. So I'm going to explain to you what a 90-second call is to start with. The idea is that you're going to write down before you go to bed that night what you're going to do the following day. the things that you're going to do to build your business, the people you're going to talk to. And then the next morning, you call your sponsor and you report in, this is what I'm working on today, and this is who I'm talking to. And so the idea is a 90-second connect call, 90-second call every morning, preferably. And what happens out of that is you find out what you're working on. You can work on your schedule. So as a sponsor, I know what you're working on, and I can ask you, well, what about that guy yesterday? I thought we were going to have a three-way with him yesterday. Oh, yeah, I haven't got a hold of him yet. What is your schedule like tonight? I've got 6:30 to 7 tonight. Okay, I'll block off 6:30 to 7 o'clock tonight for a space and time where you can make a couple calls and follow up. So we set appointments from the 90-second call. We set up agendas. We get plans. We get ideas. And it's very, very powerful. So now the key thing in here, and I've been polling people in the downline, how many of you are doing 90-second calls? The number one thing you've got to do is you've got to have a specific appointment. What we have here is between around 10 and 11 o'clock, we have a series of different 90-second calls, and then another one at noon. And our downline person has an appointment, a specific time to call us every morning, and they call us at that time. I'm not going to be out there phoning you. I want you to show your leadership that you're serious about this. You call me, but we set a specific time, and we do it Monday through Friday. And then I also have sometimes set up weekly appointments with people further down in the downline to meet with them on a specific time for a short call. And I've got others that are maybe going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So I highly encourage you to set up these 90-second calls, okay? But if you're going to do it, you've got to do it by appointment, okay? You can't do it otherwise. So let me see here. The other part of it is the accountability, you see? So the accountability is that person that says they want to build a business kind of calls you to let them know what they're really doing. It forces your business builder to be accountable because they're saying to you they want to build a business, right? But Monday comes and nothing happens in the business, right? They haven't really thought about the business. That's another reason to follow up. I was doing a follow-up call this last week with a business builder that he's not my personal, so we're connecting with him once a week, and he says, thanks for calling. Really, I've been kind of slacked off the last week, and you've got me thinking again about my business. It's helping you keep your focus on building the business. So I really highly recommend you get those 90-second calls going. So that's kind of the follow-up thing. Just want to wrap up here with a couple of things. Basically, we've got this new. There's a bunch of sort of advertising, if you will, kind of things that Zango's getting lots of news from. This came from Zango.com. I believe it's under the News Center, showing Zango. I like this one. This is from a Men's Health magazine or something. What are the best juices for my breakfast drink? They've got the Zango juice in there. Great story. Lots of stuff there. So go to Zango.com. Look in the News Center. There's some downlines there that can make a nice follow-up to email out to the people that you're talking to. So look for this kind of stuff. These are PDF files. They're fairly big files, so it's not something I can really readily send out to you. But look for some of those kinds of things. And just this thing, I don't know if you've seen this before, just to show you the power of the company we're with, finding the next billion-dollar company. There's been at least 100,000 companies formed in the last 60 years. That is low. I bet you there's been 1 million companies in the last 60 years, some of them that never hardly got off the ground. Only 40 have done over 100 million plus per year. So we're already in the top 40 of all time and way beyond, aren't we? And so now only 8 have reached $1 billion per year. This is our next goal, and that's what we're working on. One of the things that you've really got to be on your game as you're following up is to get your new members out to events. And there's lots of distributor events coming up. This is the new trend here. I've showed you this before. You should be into your meetings and event schedules on a regular basis looking for events that you can send your members to wherever they are. We've also got the ABC promotion. You sponsor somebody, help them sponsor 3 people in the first 30 days, get a total of $250. And so really that's a great thing to help new people get cash into their pockets. We've talked about this before. And so when you sponsor somebody, help them get their 3 people, help them get into profit immediately. There's a lot of people out there that need your help, And if you would just really come from a place of service, there's people out there concerned about their finances. There's people out there praying for help with their health, and you have a solution, but they don't know about it unless you tell them about it. So I want you to think of coming from a place of service. Your friends, the people that you know, they need your help. Now we've got Las Vegas coming up. Now, one thing I want to say about Las Vegas, the main room is sold out, but there's a lot of people that have tickets which they can't use or they're not coming. And so if there's anybody looking for tickets, I would highly recommend you use the My Mangosteen message board in the back office there. If you've got tickets available that you're either giving away for free or you wanting to charge, why not post them there and make sort of an exchange place in the back office there. If you want to go to Vegas, the company is sold out in the main room, but there are other people that have tickets available. And one of the big announcements that we've just heard about, Terry, I know you want to talk about briefly here as we're wrapping up the call, is there's going to be a limited edition supply at Las Vegas of the pericarp oil. What is the pericarp oil? Why would people want that, Terry?
Well, the pericarp oil is so awesome. Art and I were fortunate enough when we first started Glimpse, when Beverly Hollister let us try out the product, she did send us each a vial of the pericarb oil. That was the very first thing that we tried on our face, and it was just amazing. I mean, it's going to your cellular level, you guys. You can imagine the juice from the inside, but now this pericarb oil on the outside. Now, you would use this sparingly. It's very expensive, of course, but it's very, very rich. And so you would use it for problem areas, for people that have some really big issues, either some scar tissue or some big issues. I know I'm using it on one of my moles, and the mole is fading away. There's a lot of different things you can use that for. But we're very excited about this. So those of you that do come to Las Vegas will get some of this pericarb oil, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's yellow. That's the color of xanthones. And Eva Marie, I know you're still there. You actually got a little small, tiny precious sample at the Elite Summit.
Yes,
did you want to make a comment on your use of that?
Yeah, it's like gold, it came in a nice little pouch.
Yeah.
But, yes, I get, cold sores right on the side of my mouth. You don't like talking about it, but it would just stay for a long, long time, and I could never get rid of it. And I would occasionally put Sango on it, but, it's too messy, so I never kind of followed up too much with that. But I put the pericarb oil on it. I broke out, and within 2 days it was gone. I was just amazed. I mean, it is an amazing product. I'm really excited to get some more at the convention.
Amazing. Yeah, anybody that has some big issues, this product is going to really be huge.
As far as we know, it's just a limited edition available at Las Vegas. So, you might want to poll some of your customers that you might want to order some in for if you're attending Las Vegas. This is also the day after event. This was formerly what was called the Learn to Earn with Sherman Unkefer, so there's been a little confusion on that. John Gottschalk's got involved with Exco Pro, and he's helping to organize this event, and it's called $1 Billion Basics. That's Sunday, April 26th. So the corporate event is the 25th on a Saturday, then 26th is a general session. This is a distributor training, $1 Billion Basics, and basically a whole host of leaders taking a single topic and only have 6 minutes for this pearl to explain a particular topic. And so I've gotten a topic there. I've got 6 minutes to prepare a presentation on a particular topic. And so that is the $1 Billion Basis with John Gottschalk, Exco Pro. Going to be putting that together. So anybody going to Vegas will want to attend that. So thank you all for coming on the call today. Really enjoyed it. Krista, thanks a lot. Anything anybody wanted to add before we close out the call?
Well, I would just like to thank everybody for being on the call because I know your time is precious. But, when we can change lives out there, that's what this is really all about. It's about helping people, especially with this economy the way that it is. You know, there's a lot of extra stress out there, and we know the juice can work with stress as well. So thank you all for coming.
Thanks a lot, Terry, Krista, and Eva Marie. Let's open up the line so you can thank our guests for putting on a great call today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Great call.